Hello everybody, welcome to another video. We've been at this for a while, but we are really making good progress. We've done all the groundwork, we've done all the hard, laborious, tedious, oh my goodness, can we endure? Can we fix our attitude? Can we change our mindset? Can we do the stuff that we need to do? And now we're really jumping into some of these topics that are like, oh, well, we can take action on this. Let's get this done. Let's just do this. And today's video is really going to be one of those. This is going to be one of those that we are going to talk specifically about how to take action. And it doesn't matter whether you've got a ton of money or a little money, whether you're in debt or out of debt. This is one of those that you can take and apply right now. So what are we doing? Well, if you're just joining us for the first time, we've been going through my book, From Debtor to Better, The Details of Debt and How to Get Out. And I've been talking quite a bit about really, what in the world are we going to do when it comes to our financial situation if we want to get out of debt, if we want to become rich, financially speaking, if we want to do the right things with our money? How do we get there? And today we're at video 14, where we're talking about cars and debt. Now, as always, I want to jump back for just a moment and do a quick reminder. Our last video, we talked about how to live like a millionaire, how to act like a millionaire. And so what I asked you to do in your homework was to go out and seek the normal person who has really done well for themselves, and you think that they're a normal millionaire. You think one of those everyday millionaires, to use the book title from Chris Hogan's recent release. The business owner who's been in business for 20 or 30 years and just seems to quietly be doing their thing, but you know they've done well. Not the person who's flashy, not the person who goes out and acts like a rap star, but the person who you know has done financially well. And pay attention to them. Sort of look and see how they live and what they do and all that kind of good stuff. That was the homework I gave you because I wanted you to look and recognize that just because you're a millionaire doesn't mean you have to act like a rap star or look at those famous Instagram accounts and feel like you need to spend all your money on stuff to impress people you don't even know. And that transitions us well into today's topic of cars and debt. So I did a little research for this one because in my book, of course, I'm a snapshot in time of sort of what's going on in the world, what money will buy you in the world, all those kinds of things. And so that revision from a couple of years ago doesn't really have quite the same up to date, but it does have more information in the book. So what I did is I said, okay, first off, I wanted to know what was the average car payment in America for a new car. And so I just Googled that and found that NerdWallet, which is a reputable source, did a survey at the end of 2018, so fourth quarter of 2018, and they reported that the average car payment in America is now $530 a month. $530 a month. And that's an average term of 68.5 months, or 5 years, 8.5 months, if my math is correct there. 5 years, almost 6 years, let's say, at a tune of over $500 a month for a car payment. That's what the normal American car payment is. And what that translates to, if you do the math, is about $36,000. Or if you figure in your interest and all that kind of good stuff, about a $30,000 car, which is a Toyota Camry or a Honda Accord. Just a reasonably equipped, normal, everyday Honda Accord or Toyota Camry. That'll come back into play in just a little while. But let's think about that. The average American is spending over $500 a month every single month just to drive a car to and from. Yikes. Yeah. So those numbers are just staggering to me, but I wanted to get the picture of reality because I'm telling us in this video how we can break the cycle of a car payment, how we can never have another car payment, how we can honestly drive our cars every day and never have debt. Now, that doesn't mean we don't need to save money toward a car or spend money on a car or that kind of thing. And I'm assuming you live somewhere you need transportation. There's certain places in the world you don't. So let's talk. Let's actually jump in. First, I need to tell you a little story. Stories are great because it proves that even though I'm the one teaching this, that I've made a few of those mistakes along the way as well. Let's go back a few years. Let's go back to I'm just out of college. I'm driving a nice-looking Acura Legend. It's not a terrible car. It's a fairly nice car. Has a little rust that's forming over one of the wheel wells. It's turned 195,000 miles, so we're, getting a little age on it, getting a little bit of cosmetic wear, nothing terrible. And I'm 5 months into a new job out of college. I have two financial goals that I want to accomplish. Number one is I want to save up and buy my wife, my now wife, an engagement ring. I want to propose. Second, I want to replace the transportation that I currently have because it is starting to show some problems and does need to be replaced before too long. Well, 5 months into this new job that I tell you out of college that I receive, I get a major promotion. We're talking over $10,000 a year more in income. I'm 22. I've got it made. Pie in the sky. Woohoo! But let's be serious here. I'm 22. I just got my first real raise, my first decent paycheck. And what do I have to do? What do I have to do at that moment? I'll have to go car shopping, because any self-respecting 22-year-old does need what? A new car. So what do I go to do? I have a friend who owns a Mercedes dealership, and I worked for him detailing cars in high school and a little bit in college. And so what do? I go meet with my friend who owns the Mercedes dealership and say, I need you to find me a car. And what does he do? He finds me a car. And what do? I visit bank after bank after bank until finally I get a bank that will lend me the money, because I got nothing to buy that car. So me, 22-year-old Barry, who really has nothing in savings, who wants to propose to his now bride, is getting ready to go buy a fancy Mercedes. Not my smartest move. Why did I need that Mercedes? Or excuse me, need that Mercedes? Nothing wrong with those cars. There's nothing wrong with, I've owned 2 of them. I've driven probably 100 of them. They're nice cars. And there's nothing wrong with owning them. The problem is we want to own something that will impress people we don't know. Even though it may cost us a fortune, even though it may not be the best thing really for our financial situation, we decide that it's more important to drive something fancy enough to impress the people that happen to see it in the parking lot, or who we pass on the road, or who pass us, and be like, man, that's nice. Or, man, they must really have some money, when in reality, most of the time, they just have a big car payment. That's what it boils down to. Most of the time, really fancy cars are driven by people who cannot afford them. Okay? So, let me tell you something real quick. Rich people, now remember, rich and poor are both a mentality. A rich person doesn't ask, how much are the payments? A rich person asks, how much is the car? We're going to come back to that as well. So, here I am driving this fancy Mercedes, which meant that, yes, I did finally get the engagement ring for my wife. Yes, we got married. And yes, we started off our marriage with debt. Doggone it. Even after we got married, we had to work, and she went to get a job so we could pay that stupid car off quickly. Whew. Now, I had fun in that car. I had a great time in that car, but it wasn't the car I should have bought. It wasn't. It was a bad decision. It was a stupid decision. But now it gives me a great story to tell when I teach this in a class, or when I speak to a group, or whether I talk to you or write a book. You know, it's been good fodder for all of that stuff. So anyway, that gets me to my point. It's the last car that the last car that I ever financed. Ever since that time, I have literally paid cash in $100 bills for every vehicle we have bought. No exceptions. Every car since then, we've paid cash. So how do we do it? Well, there's a few options here, okay? Let's talk about some of this stuff. When I sold my Mercedes, I had kept it long enough that it had also started developing some mechanical problems and was getting more expensive to fix than it was worth. So I sold it to a friend of mine for $5,500 cash. And I went shopping, and I said, listen, I'm not going to spend more than this. I'm going to spend less. I don't need anything fancy. I need something to drive. So what did I go and find? I found a little Ford Ranger pickup truck. And it was used, obviously, if it's in the $5,500 range. It actually was in pretty good shape, but I bought that truck. I paid $4,400 for it, which gave me $1,100 left over, and that was the genesis of what is now our auto repair / replacement fund. That is the key to breaking the car payment cycle. Developing your own fund that you can fund when the money makes sense, and eventually you can go either fix the car or replace the car. And we're going to talk about how to do that in just a little bit. But let's talk for just a moment about what you do when you act normal, because we're going to talk about normal and we're going to talk about weird. Normal is you finance the car. You go to the car lot. It's a bright, pretty, sunny Saturday afternoon, and you're like, feeling good. Feeling good. Maybe I got my tax refund. Maybe I'm going to go buy that. Okay, so you go buy the car and you finance. Well, let's use the example because I did the research on the Toyota Camry or the Honda Accord. Those are two very popular sedans that are out there. They're both around $30,000 with some reasonable equipment. And so by the time you finance it, you've spent your average monthly car payment. So at the end of 6 years, when that thing is paid for, you have a 2013 is how I did. I went to Kelley Blue Book and I looked up 2013 because that's 6 years ago. I looked up a 2013 Accord EXL and a 2013 Camry XLE. Those were, again, pretty much the same, pretty well equipped Accord and Camry. The Accord, 6 years old, 90,000 miles, which is the average driving per year. 2013 Accord is right at $10,000 trade-in value. The 2013 Camry is right at 85 to 9,000. So 8,500 to 9,000. So you basically have a $9,000 or $10,000 car left over at the end of 6 years. Now the normal thing to do is you say, well, I've driven the thing, it's paid off. I guess I need to go get another car. It's paid off, so you go the next Saturday after you've made that payment. You say, well, now I have a trade-in. They give you your $9,000, and you say, well, I can afford $530 a month. I've been paying it. I can afford that same payment. So they finance you another car. But this time you can upgrade a little bit because, you know, now you've got a little bit of a down payment. So you don't think about reducing your payment. You think about upgrading in the car. So maybe you get the Avalon or you get the Accord Hybrid with a few more options, whatever. Anyway, so you stick with that same payment, but our normal mental cycle is every time that I pay the thing off, it's time to go get a new one. Every time I pay the thing off, it's time to go get the new one. And all you end up having to do is to trade in your car, and when you trade in the car, now it's time to go get a new one. You trade in the car, you get your new one, and you have the same payment, same terms, nothing changes. You just continually pay to the bank so you can drive that car. That's normal. That's it. Nothing fancy, right? Nothing earth-shattering there. But let's talk about being weird. There's a couple of options, a couple of ways that you can break this cycle, and neither one of them are difficult, okay? But remember, a rich mentality says, how much is this car? That sounded like, how much is this dog? You know, how much is this car on the car lot? Okay, that's terrible. Sorry. Whereas the poor person says, how much are the payments? When I walk onto a car lot, I don't care what the payments are because I'm not making payments. I am writing one check or I'm bringing $100 bills and I'm leaving with that thing owned. It is mine. That simple. That's the mentality I go on a car lot with. That's the mentality you need to go on any purchase with. We'll talk more about that in the future videos as well, but you need to walk onto that car lot with the mentality of, I am buying this thing, I am paying for it, and when I leave, I own it. Because it's a depreciating asset. It's going down in value the moment you leave with it. Especially if you're buying from a car lot, a dealership needs to make some money. So the moment you leave with it, you don't even get the dealer value back out of it. If you were to sell it the next day, you could only get private party value. So you've already lost money the moment you leave. You got to pay taxes and all this other good stuff. So understand your mentality has to be, I'm paying for it. I'm not thinking about payments, I'm paying for it. So here's option one of weirdness, okay? You can keep driving it. Now, I know that sounds weird. Oh my goodness, the thing's paid for. Why in the world would you keep driving it? Let's think about this. Honda Accords and Toyota Camrys. Honda and Toyota are both known to last a really, really stinking long time. Nobody would argue that, okay? Nobody's going to argue that with you. They say, you know, there's great cars that last forever. There's good cars that last forever. You hear that over and over and over again. And in fact, my car, which is a 2008 Ford Taurus, is almost going to turn 200,000 miles. It'll do it in the next week. Okay? I posted when it turned 199,000 miles, sort of a question that I posed sort of as bait to see what kind of feedback I would get, but also because I am interested in buying another vehicle. And I said, okay, 199,000, is it time for another vehicle? Is it time? Is it time? Should I keep it or not? People were saying about my Ford Taurus, oh, it's just a baby. I had one guy who said, I've financed cars with more miles than that. That's a well-taken point, because you know what? Mileage on a vehicle, age on a vehicle, it depends on the vehicle. You can have a brand new car that's a piece of crap and needs to be replaced, and you can have a 30-year-old car that has a bajillion miles on it and it's still doing okay. So option one is to keep driving the thing. If the car's still doing okay, keep driving it. Don't stop making the payments. Just do the obvious thing and put those payments in a savings account instead. Start investing in yourself. Start investing in your car repair/replacement fund. So let's do a little math here. Let's say that instead of keeping the car for that 6 years, you just say, all right, I'm going to keep it for 3 more. A 9-year-old car is not an old car by today's standards. A 9-year-old car, if you drive the average amount of miles, is only going to have like 140,000 miles on it, if that. That's not a lot of miles in today's standards. So let's say you keep driving it and you pay those $530 a month into a savings account instead. You're going to end up with a little over $19,000 if I did that math right. 3 times 12, that's 36 months. At $530 is a little over $19,000. So now guess what? You now have a car that's probably worth $5,000 or $6,000. And so instead of trading it in, if you decide that's the thing to do, you've got a $5,000 car to trade in, plus you've got $19,000 cash. Well, you got plenty of money to work with now. And so guess what? You've got money to work with, so you can either finance less or You can keep driving it a little longer and save a little longer and eventually pay cash. It's not a hard concept, is it? Now, the other thing that I would recommend is to think about it from this perspective. If it'll last 3 more years and you're only at a 9-year-old car that's well taken care of and doesn't have a ton of miles on it, maybe you want to drive it 3 more after that, or you revisit the idea every year or two, or every time something major occurs that has to be repaired, and you just keep it until it costs more to fix it than it is to keep driving it. That is a novel concept, although that is something several people mentioned in the video, okay? I mean, a lot of you, when I posted my 199,000 mile car, you're like, hey, unless the thing dies, like really just dies, you're stupid to not just keep driving it, because guess what? The cheapest car to own is the one you already own, and there's something to that. But my car is full of hail damage. In fact, it was totaled for hail damage 4 years ago. It's rusted through in one spot, and it's getting ready to rust through in another. I mean, I have other issues, but guess what? Every time I start it, it starts. Every time I go to get in it and go somewhere, it goes somewhere. I don't have any major repairs pending or otherwise. Is it time? I don't know. And I have the cash to go buy another one. But is it time? So, option number 1, keep driving it a while, and then eventually get to the point where I'm at, where I have the money to go buy another one. But is it really time? I haven't decided yet, so I haven't bought another one yet. All right, there's option 1. Option 2, this is the one that I did. This is exactly what I chose to do when I said, all right, I'm done with the car payment cycle. Remember how I said I had a Mercedes? I had a really nice Mercedes. It was white, it was shiny, it was pretty, it was in pristine condition. It was just beautiful. I loved that car. I took very good care of it. And guess what? When it was time to sell it, I went and bought a used Ford Ranger. I had people who came out and saw it in the parking lot and wondered what happened. What, did Barry go crazy? What in the world happened? I actually still own that truck. It's a 97 Ford Ranger, and it has about 165,000 miles on it now. It also got totaled by hail damage, so they paid me to keep driving it. It's nothing fancy, and guess what? I still drive it. I still love it. I still use it because it's a truck. So, option 2, if you haven't already gathered on, is to be embarrassed for a few years. So let's say that you're starting fresh. You have literally nothing to buy a car. You have no vehicle now, or the vehicle you drive now is just dead. It is time to go buy something. Option 1 would be to go borrow less. All right, so that option of being embarrassed for a few years, the first way you could go about doing that is say, all right, I'm going to go buy something that I can afford to finance for 1 year and pay it off and be done with it. So let's go back to the $530 a month. That roughly would get you what? $6,000 car, 500 times 12, $6,000 car, or let's say we're going to buy a $5,000 car, so we can have any of those finance charges, and we can have whatever minor repairs might need to be made as we get started driving, okay? Borrow less if you can't pay the cash. I don't normally advocate borrowing, but this is one case where I'm saying, okay, borrow a little less, pay it off in 1 year, and commit to drive it for 5. Let's be novel about that. Let's commit to pay it off in a year and drive it for 5. What does that do? That gives you 4 years. Okay, so your $5,000 car after a year, or excuse me, after those 5 years is probably only worth $1,000 or $2,000 maybe. But guess how much money you've saved? Again, you can do the math along with me. $530 a month times 48 months, which is 4 years because you paid it off in 12 months, so you got 48 months left. You have $25,440. Can you go buy a decent vehicle for $25,000 and change? Yeah, absolutely. That's above what I'm looking at right now because I don't want to spend that much personally on a vehicle. It's just my choice. So here's the thing. If you're willing to be embarrassed for a few years, either by borrowing less and paying it off in a year, or by just trading in the thing that you have now, and instead of upgrading again, or instead of buying new again and just repeating that cycle of what's normal, take whatever you get on that trade-in, buy something that's less expensive, and start the car repair/replacement fund, just like I did. Just like Stacy and I did for those few years where, guess what? I didn't drive anything fancy. Nobody was impressed when I pulled up next to them at a red light. But guess what? I was accumulating money. And I was accumulating money. I was putting that money in a savings account. And guess what it was doing? It was breaking the cycle of us ever having debt again. Since that time, we've bought 4 or 5 vehicles. And I, again, literally have paid $100 bills. When I went and bought our van, we drive a Honda Odyssey van. I literally went to the bank and I said, I need a lot of hundreds, because I wanted to go in there. It's just that invigoration and the uplifting feeling of saying, I paid for it. I didn't just write you a check. I handed you $100 bills. It is mine. I really like that feeling. So that's what I'm encouraging you to do. Option one, keep driving it and then upgrade, or just upgrade slower or less often. Option two, be embarrassed for a few years and then get over it. You know, I'm sort of a little embarrassed now of the car that I'm driving, but guess what? I could go replace it easily if I felt like it. There's nothing wrong with my car mechanically. And when I go to sell it, that's going to be the thing. If you're in the position where your car, if you need a car that runs, great, I can help you out. If you need a car that looks beautiful, probably don't have the one for you. But those are the two scenarios. It's not complicated. It's not rocket scientist. I said that again, not rocket science. I did that in a video the other day. It's not rocket science. It's not difficult, but it's not normal either. So that's how you break the cycle of car payments, and here's my homework to you today. I want you to think about this, and I want you to honestly ponder it and make some notes about how you think about it. Here's my challenge. You can be weird for a single 5-year period, and you're likely never to have another car debt payment, ever. So I want you to sit down and think about the car you're currently driving and the condition it's in and the position you're in financially to see, okay, what's next for me when it comes to transportation? And I want you to think about it. Do I want to take a 5-year period of weirdness and never have another car debt payment? Think through that and honestly answer, because the way you do your budget, the way you do your financial planning, the way you save, are really going to determine whether or not you do this the right way or wrong way, or whether you start your 5-year calendar now, or whether you started it 5 years ago, or I don't know where you're at. But your homework is to sit down and consider and think through that and decide for yourself what makes sense for your financial future when it comes to transportation. Because if you will just have one 5-year period where you're either embarrassed to drive what you're driving, but guess what, you're saving, or whether you commit to just driving your new vehicle longer while you have enough to save up and just upgrade less frequently, either one of those will break the cycle for you. That's all I've got for you today. Nothing complicated, but hopefully it's something that will get you taking action. Have an awesome day. We'll talk again soon. See ya.